know the half of the abuse. All my friends are heathens, take it slow. Wait for them to ask you.
Get you for the funeral.
Yes, attend the funeral of the guy AJ murdered a day prior after most of the school raged at AJ and Clem. I'm sure there won't be any tension at all.
AJ killed him like it was nothing. We all saw it, and no one stopped him.
Exactly. You all had the perfect opportunity to prevent AJ from picking up the gun and shooting Marlon, yet none of you did anything to stop him. Kind of defeats the whole purpose of you being angry.
What are you saying?
I'm saying they gotta fucking go. Take a vote. Majority decides. They stay or they leave.
You're not fooling me, game. I've been through this song and dance before, where the protagonist gets voted out of a group, only for a situation to arise once they leave that leads them back to the group, which is exactly what happens here.
It didn't work. Why'd you tell me to do that if it didn't work?
Well, AJ, it's not like Clem can predict the future.
Does AJ still have that gun?
You mean the gun that no longer has any bullets in it since the only one was used on Marlon, and thus no longer poses a threat? 'Cause I don't recall AJ getting any more ammo after the train station.
Let's get going. The sun will set soon.
How do you know?
There's this cold that settles on my skin.
Or you can just, look up at the sky.
Hide!
Now come on out. I saw a couple of you on the road.
So that's why I fired off my gun and alerted you to my position, instead of, sneaking up on you for a surprise attack.
I thought he died.
You can survive a bite if you cut it off fast enough.
Or if the plot demands it, since bites have quite the inconsistency in this series. And the fact that Abel didn't really have any tools on him to sever his arm. Sup, Lily? Somehow I knew you would return one day. So your surprising appearance is not so surprising to me. Now where are Mike, Bonnie, and Arvo? I still haven't gotten my revenge on those pricks.
We'll take you back to the Delta to join our people. We have walls, we have working solar panels, and we grow our own food.
Gee, now where have I heard that before? Oh yes, literally every community we have ever come across in this series. The St. John's Dairy, Crawford, Howe's Hardware, Wellington, Prescott, Richmond, McCarroll Ranch. All destroyed, infested, and abandoned. This is precisely why the Walking Dead formula has gotten stale. No matter where we go, it all eventually ends up the same. Oh. Took you too long enough to realize where the gunshot was coming from. I love how Abel fires multiple shots with that double barrel without needing to reload. Lily and Abel must have graduated from the Stormtrooper School of Aiming. Obligatory defend your position segment. I see that James has been taking tips from the Whisperers, though that has always made me question of how someone avoids getting ill from wearing the skins of walkers.
I didn't mean to endanger you. The walkers were sent to help you.
Delusional as James turns out to be, he's been doing this long enough to know that was never going to work. James actually pulls an apple out of nowhere and offers it to AJ. He wants to guarantee AJ turns out to be an asshole. And the apple disappears after one bite, proving it existed solely to fulfill the cliche.
The people who attacked you. What do you know about them?
I know they steal kids. They took 2 last year.
A common practice for them. They're at war up north. Their entire community against another. That's why they take people. To make them fight. Train them. Use them.
James talks about Delta as if he was once part of it, which he wasn't. Plus his camp and his barn are not far from Erickson's boarding school, meaning it's baffling how James has never come across members of the school and warned them about Delta's practices.
Wait. Throw it. Distract him. Works just as well. And nobody gets hurt.
This actually works, even though the walker was heading in their direction. This rainwater is not dousing the campfire.
Is he awake?
Yeah, he's so hot.
Very poor choice of words there, Clem. James, you might want to take off your mask as you approach the school.
Walker!
'Cause then that happens.
Come on, let's get him inside.
Lewis is quite eager to help AJ, despite voting him out of the school, even if it is for, ulterior motives.
I'm not trying to be weird. I just don't want everyone in the world to know where we are.
The real sin is how you've been able to remain hidden for so long. This does not strike me as a place that can be concealed for very long.
Violet, AJ is the least of their worries.
I know, but everything is such a mess. They're scared and angry, and they're looking for someone to blame.
How about the Marlon guy who killed Brody, sold out Sophie and Minerva, put the entire school at risk, and is the entire reason the school had any conflict to begin with, who is now dead? Wait, why is everyone confused and angry again?
Look at this place. It's a fortress.
Clem, you were in a town in the previous season, and they had much better defenses than this. This school is hardly what you'd call a fortress.
With a little work, we could make this place really hard to attack.
Something the school should have done a long time ago, especially considering Willie and Sim are good at making traps.
Well, you guys don't use the greenhouse anymore, do you?
No, we used to. Then we lost someone up there. Walkers overran the place, and Marlon wouldn't let us go back.
3 walkers trapped inside of a greenhouse that is also behind a locked gate is hardly what I'd call overrun.
Mitch, those people who shot Lewis, they're arming up to attack the school. We need Clem's help.
Like hell we do. For all we know, she's one of them.
There's the telltale formula I know so well, the Russian roulette of assholishness. This greenhouse was blocked from the inside, even though everyone had turned.
You weren't there when we dug the holes for Marlon and Brody. We had to use cups and bowls. Took forever.
Somehow I doubt that, seeing as how Marlon and Brody got killed during nighttime, and by morning the following day, they were both buried. There's actually a crowbar in this greenhouse. Makes you wonder how anyone got trapped here. Miss Martin was a nurse who stayed behind and helped out the kids. However, that doesn't explain how she is severed in half and zip-tied when there are no other walkers in this science lab. And Ruby doesn't really provide a valid excuse. And somehow Miss Martin was able to block the door from the outside. This is the game telling you that ideas in development time were running out, and that you are about to witness a whole lot of filler. Flashback within a dream cliche.
If you go back to sleep, I'll stay awake and make sure no more bad dreams come.
You can't do that. You're not magic.
How do you know? Maybe I have magic and never told you.
That line is going to end up being a lot more alarming considering how this season ends.
Need my help?
Yeah, actually. Could you check on everyone and make sure they're doing shit right?
I mean, we've had 2 weeks to do that, but that's a little detail we can ignore. That is probably the least tactical position for this bench. It's angled towards the entrance, meaning it doesn't leave much room to hide. First time we get some actual gameplay since season 1, and we have to deal with infinite arrows.
Violet told us to work on the traps together, but a Sim won't listen to anything I say.
That doesn't mean you have to scream at each other.
Lewis, I welcome you as a temporary member of Gaming Sins.
Marry, fuck, kill.
Bye.
Fine. Marry, flip, kill.
People are still getting demonetized years into the apocalypse.
Believe me, the world before this one was pretty shitty.
Civilization, readily available drinking water, food we could just shop for, health insurance, housing, transportation, free Wi-Fi, internet. Yep, what a totally garbage world we lived in. You see, these are romances I actually approve of, because Violet or Lewis actually earn it, and it wasn't forced upon us unlike that little bastard who I refused to name.
No matter what happens, look out.
You know, if your goal is to capture these kids to fight a war, probably not the best idea to basically immobilize them. Wait, Violet and Lewis had bows this entire time?
Kill who you have to. Take the rest.
Now there's the perfect motivation to get people to fight for your cause. Murder their friends. Speaking of which, why wouldn't Lily bring Minerva along to convince the others if recruiting is her plan?
I see someone like you. Weak, small, afraid.
Is this really the time to be villain monologuing when she's already bested you before? The fire inside the school gets extinguished without anyone attending to it.
This should be strong enough to hold him.
You mean the same duct tape you were able to easily escape from in the first episode?
Got your gun back, huh?
Uh-huh.
Oh, the gun that AJ dropped in the woods when Abel attacked him? The woods that are probably still infested with walkers? And the gun that still has no bullets in it? That gun? Well, it only took 4 seasons, but we finally got our recycled Big B Wolf interrogation scene.
Back at the Delta, we're at war.
Yep, a war that we will never witness or be part of in any way. Thus I have no vested interest.
We need people to fight it. You little turds are supposed to be easy pickings.
If you had trouble taking a school full of untrained youths, what hope do you have against people who are supposedly more dangerous than you? Well, Clem, you had a lighter this whole time. Why even bother finding the igniter from the science lab?
There's no good cover leading up to the boat. We're gonna need one hell of a distraction.
Walker!
Ask for the teleporting dead, you shall receive.
It's Minnie.
Hello there, former girlfriend. Nice to see you again. I thought you were dead. Hey, what are you doing with the bad guys who are kidnapping people, and why should I forgive you? Sorry, I was saying the words Violet should be speaking in this scene.
Your leadership is going to get my little brother killed.
Yep, not the raiders who attacked the school in the first place killed Mitch, and we're gonna kill 10. That's just absurd thinking.
Where's Sophie? Is she alive?
She died protecting the Delta.
So Minnie is gonna criticize Clem for trying to protect people and then just casually brings up her sister dying to protect Delta. You know that hypocrisy is still the one character trait Telltale knows how to write. Sorry, knew how to write. The cart that was carrying Asim, Omar, and Lewis or Violet is abandoned not far from the school and amongst walkers, meaning none of them were able to escape throughout all the commotion and end up being captured anyway.
You want to use walkers to hide? To sneak on board their ship? That's insane.
Yeah, but not nearly as insane as you thinking walkers are still people inside that dead body of theirs.
Clem, what's this? It's called a salt lick. Whatever you do, don't lick it. It tastes horrible.
Wait a minute, how do you know? Did you lick it?
I don't know.
She said the thing again!
The mask will disguise your scent.
How does a mask disguise the scent of your entire body? Well, this certainly ranks as one of the more bizarre and pointless sequences in The Walking Dead. It was supposed to prove walkers still had some humanity left in them, but all it did was prove that walkers are attracted to sound in a controlled environment, something we've already known about.
What are you thinking about right now?
You getting bit. Turning into a monster.
Not so subtle foreshadowing, to an extent.
Have you ever danced with anyone before?
Nope.
Do you wanna?
I'm seeing a severe lack of Charleston's, Lindy Hops, and the Thriller in this sequence. I see that we're going the Mass Effect 3 Citadel route, where we plan a party just before plunging into certain doom. I didn't really need to be reminded of that. Surprise, dummies! Also known as the banner Telltale used against their employees.
Willie,
Oh,
please.
God.
No.
Chronic masturbation.
What does that mean? Don't you dare.
I actually find it more disturbing that Clem knows what it is, and somehow learned about it within the past 8 to 9 years.
I'd sit there at her feet as we both watched TV. Mostly cartoons, and she never seemed to care. Sometimes I could hear her crying, but I didn't look back. I'd just feel really weird and turn up the volume.
The music in the background suddenly changes when nobody was tampering with the gramophone.
Never mind the blood red moon. The night will be over soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Walking Dead version of The Reigns of Castamere, since this won't be the only time it is sung right before a bloodbath. Surprising Lee cameo is not so surprising. It's the final season. I knew he had to make at least one more appearance at some point.
Why the train? You always pick the train.
You sure about that dream sequence, Lee? Because I recall Clem dreaming about the RV at the end of season 2.
Some bad people captured my friends, and getting them back might get the rest of us killed.
Absolutely baffled that even in this imaginary conversation with Lee, Clem doesn't mention the person responsible for this ordeal is Lily. Wasting ammo is a proficient skill for Delta. The walker Clem drags was just outside the range of the searchlight from the boat, yet no one spotted her or the rest of the group.
The walkers. They'll be here in a little while. You can join them as they pass through the trees. The noise from the boat will draw them toward the water.
Except the boat isn't even running the engine when we do approach. And even if it was, the noise wouldn't be loud enough to draw the walkers to it. This plan actually works when there aren't really that many walkers. And at no point, even with a spotlight, does anybody notice Clem and company hiding behind the walkers. Boatmaster Supreme Kenny would be proud. Speaking of being a boatmaster, you want to know how Delta could have avoided walkers getting near them any further? Move their mobile boat away from the dock. It's amazing the wonders you can accomplish when you invest all your points into plot convenience.
Get out.
I could just release your friends and let bygones be bygones since you're clearly here to rescue them in all this chaos. But we still have another episode left, and the game needs an antagonist. Speaking of which, let's recap Lily's plan here. Hey kids, you got 2 options. You can either stay and die in this boarding school that you've been living relatively comfortably in since the beginning of the apocalypse and that you've been able to survive in, or I'll forcibly capture you and train you to fight a war for us where you will most likely die anyway. I can see how Minnie and anyone else would be so eager to join.
AJ, do you still have your knife?
Yeah, they didn't find it. Only the big one.
It's always great to know that villain incompetence is the only reason why some escapes are possible. Lily will not hear that. If you saved Lewis instead of Violet, then Violet will assume the role of Eleanor from the previous season, where she'll completely turn against you and side with Minnie, even after Minnie had abandoned her and admits to killing her own sister, and after you had clearly tried to rescue her with this siege. This type of writing is one of the many reasons why Telltale collapsed.
You think you can kill me?
I know I can. Dang.
Now that is some not so subtle foreshadowing. These people have genome soldier vision. It's remarkable how they didn't shoot James when he was still wearing his mask. Speaking of which, James manages to get captured, even though he said,
I'll lead you through the herd until you reach the boat. That's as far as I go. After that, it's up to you.
The thing about people like him, AJ, is that they're too broken to fit into a community. They won't fight for anyone but themselves.
How would you know? This is the first time you're meeting James, and he just helped a group of people siege your boat to rescue their friends. That doesn't sound like someone who would just fight for themselves. While this might have turned out to be a compelling conflict under different circumstances, this ultimately turns out to be pointless. We're in the apocalypse. Survival is of the utmost importance. AJ has already killed before, and it was against someone who had killed a friend and tried to lie. If anything, I've been teaching him to protect loved ones and eliminate those who try to take them away. Something any sane person would be doing in this scenario. Literally anybody who has survived at this point is going to have something broken inside of them. I can think of way worse things than a child taking pleasure of killing those who would harm their loved ones.
Lily, we couldn't find the other. What did you do?
Did you not hear the multiple gunshots that were just fired? You know what? I just noticed I haven't sinned this game for any QuickTime events. Well, I'm doing it now since they got pulled out the ass for this sequence. This